In 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And welcome everyone to this episode of the Real Leaders Podcast. Welcome everyone to this episode of the Real Leaders Podcast. I'm your host, Kevin Ellers. Joining us today is the co-founder of True Religion and the founder and CEO of Style Union Home. It's the boss lady. Please welcome Kym Gold. Kym, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you on. And also a pleasure to have on another Fleetwood Mac fan here today. Kym, tell me about growing up there in Southern California.
Well, I grew up in Malibu, California, and I remember my parents always having music on. I'm an identical triplet. I have an older brother and a younger brother. And there was, back in the day, there were record players. There was always a Fleetwood Mac album on all the time. So I think, Stevie Nicks she's got the best voice ever. Yep. She's
a legend, and she's making timeless music. It's one of those artists that you listen to in 2021, you go, this seems like new music today.
That's the funny thing. It is, it's timeless.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly what it is. I mean, I put on, Landslide. I can listen to it a million times and it's not enough.
It'll never be enough. Now tell me about this influence, though. I titled this show Boardwalk to Billions. Anyone who's been to Santa Monica has seen, pop-up shops. You've walked around. You've seen the homeless people there. You've seen the entrepreneurs. You've seen, the glitz and the glam of Southern California. It's a place for everyone. Tell us about your early experience on the boardwalk.
Well, the boardwalk back in the day, it was so much fun. You set up these little, I guess you can call them a kiosk, but you can rent space. The guy who actually owns the land in each of the areas they called it the boardwalk. And I was in business school at the time, and I said, I just want to make some money. I want to, go to college and make some money. I didn't want to ask my parents for the money, but I wanted to pave my own way. So I went downtown, knocking on doors. People thought I was crazy. I was asking for what they call damages, where there's a slight irregular and they don't sell them to the stores. So after a couple days or weeks and months, I finally accumulated the clothes that I wanted to sell. So like if the damage was $10 as opposed to $20 to buy for the store, I would sell a $10 garment for, let's say, $40. So it was still less expensive in the mall. So I was making about $50,000 a month in swap meets. Then I started having my sister, and Mark Burnett was working for me. You know Mark Burnett, right?
I don't. Enlighten me.
Mark Burnett is we were married actually, one of the largest, most well-known TV producers of our time, reality TV. So like The Voice, what is that, Island Show, Survivor. So basically I was, like 19 making 50 grand a month cash.
It's inspiring, to be someone who is in business school and is just grinding and trying to figure out a way to make a living. I think about this today. If you were to do this today, would you still have the same advantages? Can someone still make it by selling clothes at a swap meet in Southern California today?
Listen, I think anything is achievable if you put your mind to it. Anything. I've built homes. I produced documentaries. I, was in clothing for 30 years. Now I've got my, luxury ceramic business for the home, which is just in a year, we're almost at $1 million mark. So in a pandemic. So listen, if you have the mojo to do it, you can do it.
So let's go from this $50,000 a month to the concept of true religion. Did I miss a step there? Tell me about the evolution of this business concept?
Yes. Okay. Well, while I was doing the swap meets, I then started my own clothing companies. I had about 3 before True Religion.
Okay.
And ran them my own, funded them, did everything basically. And that really gave me the groundwork to use my own money and be on the road of an entrepreneur. I this whole word entrepreneur is really thrown out. Like, you're not an entrepreneur unless you've actually done the work, used your own money, started a business, lost money, did it again. I mean, that's really the education of being an entrepreneur, right? So 3 companies, sold a couple of them. One of them, I dissolved it. Then I worked for a couple other people, Liz Claiborne, Shelley Siegel by Liz Claiborne, and a company by the name of Rampage with Larry Hansel. So I've worked for other people, hated it. Cut to, F this, I'm starting my own business. And my then husband was in fabrics. He was a fabric salesperson. And I said, listen, let's start our business together. Probably not the best thing to do when you're married. Had 3 kids at the time too. We were $250,000 in debt when we started True Religion, which people don't know. We sold the house. We lived, in a hotel for a while. We used our own credit cards to get the denim done. Started with men's because I think women will wear men's clothes a lot more than a man will wear a woman's jean. You know what I mean? So when you wear men's jeans, women, that was like the first boyfriend jean. And we invested everything we had with 3 little kids. So if you're not willing to invest in yourself, investors aren't willing to invest in you. They want to see that you've done the work. And if you've invested yourself, then an investor would be more likely to invest in you.
So there's a lot there that I want to unpack and get into. First thing is, were you pursuing a lifestyle? Was it just, I just don't want to work for anyone? Was it, I want to be, was it, I want to make money? I want to be successful? Was it, I want to live in Southern California and be in fashion my whole life? What were you chasing?
So it's interesting. I get this question a lot because of I don't have to work now. We sold True Religion for close to $1 billion. I think if people really get this concept, is that you really need to follow your passion, because the passion is what gets you going. I wasn't chasing everything. I was just chasing, I guess because I was chasing my passion. And also, I don't like working for other people, but I think the money and the success is always a byproduct. Like, if you're an actor, are you doing it for the craft, or are you doing it to be famous? I'm back behind the scenes girl. I don't want to be famous. I don't grew up with famous people, and that's not a life that I would pursue. I wanted, I guess you can consider celebrity money at the time, I guess. But I never thought of it like that. I just knew it would come. So I'm never chasing money. It's just a byproduct of your passion.
I love it. Now, how do you view debt? How do you view risk? Let's start with risk first. How do you view risk? Because obviously you have children. You're trying to provide food on the plate for them. Exactly. You're trying to support them in any way that you can. You're in $250,000 of debt. Like, how do you view risk?
It's funny. I don't have a lot of fear around business and risk. I just know. I think I just know it's going to happen. I don't think. The only fear I have is like my heart. Like family and friends, because business really is, what is the risk? The risk for me is not doing it. That's the risk for me, because knowing that I want to do something and pursue this is not so risky. It's just, I'm going to do this no matter what. It's not even in my lexicon.
Right.
I'm not going to do it. It's just, I'm doing this.
Right. And now, does that come from working for other people and knowing, hey, I can't not focus on building this organization? I cannot do this. Do you look at the exit point and see what that looks like? Like, do you know where I'm going with this? Like, what do you fall back on when you hit those low points to say, like Kym, we gotta pull ourselves together here. Like, what do you fall back on to make sure you can continue this?
Well, I'm constantly looking at budgets. I'm constantly looking at the business plan. I'm constantly looking at, okay, so this is what I'm spending this month, and this is what I've got over here for my kids, right? It's a constant overview of your business. So if you're creative, you got to know your business. You got to know what you're falling back on, how much you're putting into this, and you are $250,000 in debt. Okay, so we got to cut back over here for a little bit. We're not putting any more money on the credit card, and then possibly the business goes a little bit slower. But you can also work while you're starting a business. I mean, I think that a lot of people say, well, I don't have enough time. I don't think that way. I think there's always enough time. It's kind of like people say they don't have enough time to work out, or they don't have enough time, or they're tired. But I think if you sit down every day and look at what you're spending and know your business, know your cost, that's the most important thing, because then you don't feel like you're falling back on it. You know what's there, you know what's not there, you know when to pivot.
Would you be able to do what you do if your significant other wasn't in business and didn't understand the struggle? Like, how important is that aspect of the relationship side?
That's a really good question, because the man I'm with now is an actor. So would I not be able? I think I would always be able to do what I want to do regardless. Maybe that person wouldn't be right for me if they didn't understand the struggle.
Right.
But you got to be with somebody who understands your struggle, because everybody has a struggle.
Right.
So my commitment is to find out what his struggle is. What happened in that audition? Why isn't your movie being, it's in the works, but why is it taking so long? So in anything that anybody does, there's a struggle.
Let's talk about the original $250,000 in debt. How do you view debt as an entrepreneur from when you were a startup to where you are now?
I think, it's funny. I don't use the word debt. I use the word I'm investing in myself.
Right. Okay.
So because debt has a really, negative connotation.
It does.
So yeah, people have school debt and they have this, but you're investing in yourself. So it's something that you're pursuing that ultimately will get paid off. It will.
Right. So when you're looking to finance something, what's the difference from a startup hustle from your early business life cycle to now an organization that's found its rhythm, it has predictable sales? What do you go to for sources of capital from a startup to now, when you're up on your feet and running, I guess?
I don't look for sources of capital. What I do is I look to, at minimum, this is what we've done this year, at minimum, sell as much as your overhead is.
Okay. Walk us through that a little bit more, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so let's say, for instance, my overhead now has gone to $100,000 a month. That's employees, that's machinery, that's PR, marketing, everything that encompasses my company right now. So if it's $100,000 a month, I'm going to do $100,000 a month in sales at minimum. If you can achieve, keep your overhead as low as possible. And I started out of the house for the first 6 months, 7 months. And then we outgrew the house, and now we're in a space downtown across the street from Soho House. And we have a retail space, so we have a retail aspect for revenue. We have salespeople for revenue. We have our online presence for revenue. So before you know it, you can do $100,000 a month, if that's what your overhead is.
So
whatever your overhead is.
And apologies for not even asking and explaining to the audience what Style Union Home is all about. Tell us.
So Style Union Home is a luxury ceramic home fashion brand. It's all ceramics. It's all made in LA. It's made on premise and with outside potters. We sell to interior designers. We have 75 retail stores since its inception, and we launched in August. So it's just like clothing, but it's just fashion for the home. Same thing. I knew nothing about ceramics. My son, one of my kids, took me to a ceramic class, and of course, I can't just have a hobby. I have to turn it into a business.
Right.
And I think, yeah, it's just me. It's my personality, and I think, and in the pandemic, and home sales are up 250%. So think about home products. I mean, because of COVID, I didn't know. I just said, "Look, I'm doing this.
Right.
I like it." I was building homes, and I really, really couldn't find the aesthetic of the staging of the home. I mean, I like the homes that I do. I want the staging to be cohesive, and to find a cohesive brand throughout the whole home. It was also the trigger to get me to do this as well.
So what are some of the obstacles, I guess, you've ran into? You just compared it to clothing. So obviously you have your buyers, you have interior designers that are looking for tiles. What were some of the things that you ran into that you've struggled with during this growth?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, the interior designers are looking for our pieces. It's not necessarily they buy for their customers, that their clients that they're working on. Let's say 8,000 square foot homes or restaurants. We do restaurants. We do hotels and things like that. So it's more of the accessories. We do vases and bowls and really interesting things. Structural bookends and things like that. But the struggle for any business, I believe, is production. Order is an order until it's made and shipped and paid for. People who do pottery are very artistic people. They're not necessarily production people. So that has been, and I think the reason why no one has done this sort of business is because it's hard. I mean, you've got to find people, you've got to train people, you've got to find outside potters. I mean, if we're set to do about $1 million by the end of the year, I better hustle and find people to make my goods. So that's not a struggle. It's a challenge.
Kym, help me explain this, or I guess answer this question. So you have your potters and you have your customers. Customer wants a specific design, a specific piece. How are you able to fulfill those orders, and what's the turnaround time, and why make sell custom tiles versus just producing a lot at scale and selling to customers?
No, we're not doing custom tiles. We're making actual pieces that you can buy 100 of. It's on the website. It's not custom. But if a designer comes in and says, we did some custom pieces for a Manhattan Beach restaurant, Esperanza, that actually got an award for this restaurant. Yeah. So it's like, you want to buy a pair of denim, you have them made, you make 100 or 1,000 or however many you make, you buy it, you ship it, you get paid for it. It's the same thing. It's just ceramics.
I love it. And I'm glad it's great to hear that. Now, are you have large organizations and large clients? Like, I've had a tile company on the show before with large clients, let's say like Google or like Amazon, that are using these tiles within their headquarters. Is it the same process? Would you be able to accommodate, a large buy like that?
You keep saying tiles. I don't know the word tiles.
Is it ceramics? Sorry.
No, it's ceramic pieces. It's ceramic pieces. Okay. No, that's okay. I am very strategic, no, that's okay. It's like, I don't know, weird. It's we're very strategic and who we sell to. We are working with a chain of stores right now, where we're working on a deal that has many stores across the country, and international hotels. So yes, we're scaling up. That's the production, and we're working with a company that can make that many pieces for these companies. Yeah, Amazon is not, for me, a place that I want to go just yet.
Okay. So tell me more about the growth of the organization, how you're making these decisions. At an early stage like this, you're just trying to cover overhead, and then you get to that inflection point. Where can you go once your margins start to increase a little bit more? What's your philosophy on growth?
So I'm very proactive. So what I do is I basically make the goods before the trade show, what we're showing. I'll make at minimum of 50 to 100 pieces and put it on the shelves. And when the customers order them, they're available. They either have to be glazed or, there's raw clay, and then we have to fire it. So growth for me is for instance, I have a 6,300 square foot warehouse that has showroom, retail, and then all of the equipment that goes with pottery. And then I decided to rent the next place with 3,300 square feet to be able to have the space for all the products that we're shipping. So I think people need to think ahead and proactive to know that you don't play catch up. Open the space. The sales are coming. Be very organized and do your homework on your production way in advance. No catch up here.
So how do you stay organized? Like when you're talking about your budgets and you're talking about the cash flow actually coming in and making these decisions, what numbers or metrics do you really keen in on to understand how to make decisions and what you need to do to become more profitable?
Okay, well, the P&Ls, my profit and loss, really staying tight on my monthly, knowing where I can cut the fat, where if I should do outside production and not have so many employees as far as potters go. But we have strategic meetings, my team and I, every week. So being organized and having weekly meetings keeps you on track, keeps you informed, especially as a business person, and knowing what you're spending. I mean, if you're making something for $25 and you're selling it wholesale for $50, and you know that you can have better margins, then let's start working on better margins with some other potters or some other production. So you want to always look at your margins. That's the most important thing. I mean, if you're making something for 10 and selling it for 10, know your cost. So organization is the most important thing, I think, in life. Running your home like that, everything is, if you saw my office, everything has, there's folders everywhere with labels, due dates. We're proactive. And when we do our trade shows, we get everything prepared way in advance. So we're on schedule. We're always on a schedule.
So what about from the leadership perspective, with managing and encouraging and inspiring your employees? Obviously, you're growing, you've got new places, you need employees to run those locations. What's your hiring process like, and how do you instill a good culture into your organization?
I love that question. The culture for me is very important because I'm coming here to work every day. I don't have to. I want to. I want it to be where everybody feels as important as the next person. I never ask anybody to do something I wouldn't do, ever. You will see me taking out the garbage. You just lead by example. I think it's really important as a leader to make everybody inclusive, have an open door policy for issues, gripes, whatever it is. There's a weekly meeting, a whole weekly meeting with everybody on the team, so everybody is an open and safe environment, and everybody is really speaks with each other with dignity and respect. I think that's one of the most important things, because I hear people say, "Oh, my boss is this, my boss is not nice." What's the point of that? What is the point of you not being nice to people? So as an owner, I have found almost every assistant I've ever had has gone off to have their own business. And I think encouraging compliments, and again, speaking with people with dignity and respect is the most important thing to me with everybody I have in my life.
So treating people like you treat anyone else, obviously the golden rule, right? It's something that everyone should live by, right? A beautiful thing. Well, I was going to ask you is how would you describe like your leadership style? Like you just mentioned, a lot of your employees are going on to start their own organizations. Are you letting them fail within the organization? Are you giving them opportunities? Are you delegating authority versus tasks? How would you describe your leadership style?
Yeah, like I said, I don't need to delegate or show my authority. I think everybody knows who's paying the bills. I think what I do is I do not micromanage. I let people get into positions to show me if they want that position, whether it be operations or being the manager of the pottery area, the ceramic area. Because I don't think, if you don't give them rope, or anybody rope, even in a real personal relationship, friendships, kids, everybody makes mistakes, and I don't think they're really necessary mistakes. I think they're just lessons learned. So that's important as a leader, is to allow people to learn and not necessarily their mistakes. Is it okay? Well, this is how we're not going to do this. This is there's a better way to do it this way. Again, with dignity and respect. I don't like to demean anybody. I don't want to be demeaned.
Kym,
So,
you strike me as someone who is just a very savvy business person, but also someone that is not necessarily against the status quo, but really defies it. What do you think business leaders get wrong about leadership, about growing an organization that's successful?
I think that without the people, without your team, you're without your team. And raising children and having businesses and learning that you don't have to treat people badly to get what you need or want within your culture or your business, is to have a happy environment. I mean, and we do have Pizza Fridays here.
Nice.
We have Pizza Fridays, and it's just what I've learned being in the business for literally over 35 years is I've seen people cry, with other bosses and come home and just go, "Why? I hate my boss." Well, does that earn respect? Do you get respect for, yelling at your employees? No, no. So I just think as a human being, and at my age, this is what I've learned. Dignity and respect, making it a safe environment to listen to what everybody has to say, and maybe they want to grow in the company, or what they don't want to do, or if they need a day off, especially if they need a day off. I allow people to take a day off if need be during the week.
How do you know now? This is we asked about hiring. We asked about the culture, dignity, respect. What about the tough discussions though? Like, what's your thought process on letting someone go in an organization?
Yes, I just did that.
Tell us about
it. I had to let somebody go who was a very high up person who I have a lot of respect for, and she was very, very good at her job, but rubbed everybody the wrong way and was condescending. And for me, you could be great at your job, but I had to let her go. And she was, you know, she was surprised because she's really good at what she does, but the culture and the environment that I'm making here is being respectful. It's a team effort. Nobody's better than the other person. There's no condescending chat happening on my watch. So that was a tough one.
Let's go into that, because I feel like everyone has someone who's condescending within their organization. Now, have you, or at least have experienced it, but honestly, have you ever been condescending too? I mean, have there been points in your career where I'm taking on the sales of things, I'm really bringing the organization, and how do you keep yourself humble? How do you make sure you stop, you pause, and you understand that you're not bigger than anybody else?
Yeah, well, I had a situation happen with somebody who works here, and they got very upset, rolled their eyes at me, and I looked at them and I said, and they were in my office, and they rolled their eyes at me, and I said, I'm going to walk out the door because I don't want to say something that I will regret. And I left. That's taken a lot of time, a lot of work, and eventually this person knew, you know, how upset I was, and I did not talk to this person for a week. This person came up to me, apologized, and I said, let me tell you something. If you ever speak to me with that lack of respect, you're not working here. And I said very calmly, and he got it.
I love those little stories, you know, that people share about.
They're true stories.
The true stories, you know, the real stories. How do you keep yourself mentally sharp when you're outside of a business?
I sleep.
You sleep a lot. Do you have a sleeping routine you like to do?
No. You know, I've learned to really stop work when I get into the house. Like, I really have stopped. I think that your brain has to shut down. There isn't anything that can't be done first thing in the morning, but I relax when I get home. It's like I literally take the work hat off and put the home hat on. You know, I read. I'm very curious about a lot of other things that keep me, you know, like just since this business, I get bored very easily. So this business is humming. Okay, where can I go more into? What other products can I go into? It's creative. Go onto Pinterest, and it's just creative. You go down the rabbit hole with, you know, tequila on Pinterest, and that's fun.
Do you think a good entrepreneur, Kym, is someone who has a nice creative side, but can also be restrained by the analytics? I mean, it seems like, you know, you're very, you know, creative, but you also have that business concept that, look, this is business language 101. I've got to make sure I check my, you know, boxes, cross my T's, dot my I's. What's your philosophy on what makes up a good entrepreneur?
That's exactly it. So a lot of creative people don't massage their other side of the brain, right? Your creative side is your right, your analytic side is your left. And you have to massage that brain, and it takes work, because creative people don't want to do the numbers. They don't want to know their margins. They just want to be in that creative space. And that's fine. But if you want to have your own business and you want to go on the path of being an entrepreneur, you got to do both. And you have to know also your business, because somebody could take it away from you as a creative easily if you don't know what you're doing. And you can lose a shitload of money too if you don't know what you're doing.
What's been a good sales process for you? Obviously, you know, the lifeblood of an organization, with true religion or with your new organization. I mean, what's been working with you from developing a good relationship with the buyer or learning about your customer experience? I mean, what really works for you?
I like customer service. I think that even though we're doing it, we went to our first trade show in New York like 2 weeks ago. What works for me is partnering up with our retailers, meaning
Mm.
we don't sell to another retail in a very specific radius. Like, you know, we
Mm.
like to be like, let's say in Santa Barbara, we have a store in Santa Barbara, another store in Santa Barbara that's maybe 3 or 4 miles away wants Style Union home as well. We have to say no, because we want to be loyal. We want to partner up and know that our retailer is safe with us. And that's good business. That's, you know, being respectful of who's buying your goods. And the mom and pops of the, you know, shops of the world are the ones that are your bread and butter. I mean, if you think about, you know, my goal at minimum is to do, you know, at the end of the day, 100,000 a month.
Mm.
It's $5,000 a day. Times 5 is $25,000 for the week. You know, times 4 is 100,000 a month.
Mm.
So then you build your customers and say, okay, well, if we're gonna be loyal to you, this is what the buy-in has to be. If your buy-in is 2 per piece for 5 units, then, you know, and we'll stick with you. So you have to have a minimum and believe in yourself in your product.
Mm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure you've been in business long enough to know, you know, trust comes on a bicycle and leaves on a Ferrari. I mean, what are some things that you're able to do with your customer support to make sure that you can continue to build up that trust?
Is always pick up the phone and talk to them. Just pick up the phone and talk to them. That's it. Send a thank you note. How you guys doing? This person up the street wants the goods, and we just to let you know we're not selling to them. And if you decide to sell in Santa Barbara, like the other day, Stephanie, my head of sales, we have this great customer in San Ynez. It's right out of Santa Barbara, and the store is about an hour and a half away. Okay, and they're a huge customer of ours, and they just reorder and reorder. And then there's a store in Santa Barbara that, again, is an hour and a half away. We called him first. Are you cool with this? He wasn't. And then after talking, he said, you know what? You're right. It's an hour and a half away. That customer in Santa Barbara may not be going to San Ynez. And we discussed it. So there's that respect.
Mm. Pretty simple.
It's so simple.
Sometimes it's simple, but not easy. You know, a lot of people.
Not easy.
Yeah. No, it
That's
really
the thing. That's the thing is you've got to be willing to do the work. That's it.
I wanted to ask you about that because you turn off the switch when you get home. Were you able to turn off the switch when you were starting up True Religion?
Oh, no. Again, these are little, you know, things that I've learned along the way. And I think, you know, also I had 3 kids while I was growing True Religion, 3 little boys.
Right.
I always think back, how the hell did I do that? But I think, you know, when you're younger, everything is like, got to be done now. It's got to be done now. But actually, you will burn out. Mm. So self-care is not a thing that people should they should do that. Self-care, whatever that is. Take a rest, turn it off for a minute. There's no TVs when we eat dinner. There's no phones when we eat dinner. There's not even a TV downstairs. Mm. That's it. Everything is shut off. Mm. It's very old school.
I love it too. You know, I have to delete my social media apps in order to stay organized and productive throughout my days. And obviously I go back and re-download it, but it really does take up a lot of time. And I think I was going to say, I think it's, if you get distracted once, it's like 15 minutes until you can get focused on like a new thing. You know, it's
like Pinterest for me. Yeah. It's like Pinterest, but it's a creative, you know, thing to do as far as these phones and the TikTok and the Reels and the Instagram. And I don't have Facebook on my phone. I have somebody doing my social media for my Instagram. I just that's what I've learned. I've learned to just delegate.
You mentioned burnout, and I asked you a question earlier in the show talking about, what do you fall back on when you reach kind of those tough points? How do you describe burnout?
Not feeling happy to go to work, not excited, not feeling a lot of passion. And I think that burnout comes, and those are signs of, all right, what's my barometer? And I think with what I did with my kids when they were growing up, is there's always a barometer. When things are really good and you're feeling really good, go with it. But when you start feeling whatever, burnt out, tired, distracted, not a lot of passion, so that's your barometer. So check yourself. What's going on? Take a day off. Rest. So that's been my barometer.
Well, let's discuss that a little bit more, because a lot of people are experiencing burnout right now. The people are calling this the great resignation. A lot of people aren't going back to work. If you've been to a restaurant, in the last week or so, you'll know they're understaffed. You'll know things aren't coming out on time. You'll know the food isn't as much as it used to be. A lot of people are feeling burnout right now. What advice would you have to someone who had this sense of belief, had this sense of purpose, and it just doesn't quite make sense anymore? What advice would you have to them?
Yeah, is to sit down. A book that I read a lot is The Four Agreements. And it just brings you back to focus. And I mean, I know maybe people, it's bullshit, or it just works for me, is to sit down, get focused, and take a, rest. I think that everybody gives them, they feel guilty about resting. They feel guilty about calling in sick. I mean, you have to. We're not robots. And I've had people here who've been burnt out after the trade show. People who work for me. I closed the office when we got back from New York. I closed the office for the day.
I think that's a wise move, and I think it's up to a lot of leaders to recognize that and really feel the pulse of the company. A few of the things I was interested in is, describe to me what your thoughts were on, and I don't want to get political at all, what your thoughts were on just like the whole of, oh my gosh, we are in a lockdown now. How do I survive as an organization? I mean, what constraints did you run into while not being able to feel the pulse of your company and being online, kind of like we are right now?
It was a very interesting, because I started right like where the pandemic started, and I'm thinking, okay, so how do I sell expensive ceramic pieces on, trade shows that were like Zoom calls, right? Buyers. I learned more adjectives. More adjectives how to describe something, because as opposed to somebody coming in and picking up a piece, right, and feeling it, you don't need any words. So I think so let me ask you this. If I say to you, Kevin, this cookie is great. I mean, it's got chocolate chips and it's, I don't know, you can drink it with whatever you want. Or you go, okay, listen, I found the best cookie on the face of the planet. It's crunchy, dip it in milk, it's got pecans, so if you're enthusiastic, doesn't that come off anyway about anything?
Absolutely. I think people can sense that.
That's the passion I'm talking about. Yeah, that's the passion I'm talking about. If you're truly passionate about something, that's the bottom line.
Here's an interesting take I heard the other day, is that the style of the business leader and the organization changes as it evolves. Hence, you're a storyteller, Steve, right? Steve Jobs. You're a great storyteller. You're going to sell the vision, the enthusiasm of the organization when it's getting off the ground. And then once you kind of get off the ground, you become Bob the Builder, let's say, and you're trying to grow the organization, and all the way to you reach the peak of your business lifestyle, and then you get down to Larry the Liquidator, right? You're trying to sell the organization, whatever it is. Do you think that the the leadership changes in any way, shape, or form, or do you just believe in the consistency? Like, will your leadership style be the right style for your organization in 20 years, do you think?
Well, I'm setting the company up, by the way, to be acquired. And a company, when I left True Religion, it was never the same. So if that's what you're asking, I think that people buy companies for, yes, product, but who the people are in the companies. I had to do so much explaining, but as far as Steve Jobs, you were talking, like what this company is. It's not a tile company. It's
right.
Luxurious. It's like fashion. It's home fashion. It's for the fashion for the home. It's pieces. It's, you know, decorating your bookcases and your tabletop and dog bowls and everything that goes in your home. So I had a lot of cajoling in the first, while. And now people are getting it. Oh, that's what it is. Okay. So when Larry comes in to buy, he'll know.
Right. I love it. I love it. Well, from all these experiences, Kym, we've learned a lot, from True Religion to now, the founder of Style Union Home, growing that, what that process has been like, what the culture is like, how you view your employees, to how you treat yourself when you go back home. So for Kym Gold, let's bring this home. What is your definition of a real leader?
Leading by example, talking with dignity and respect. I can't say it any other way. That's so important.
Beautifully, but it's been a very consistent theme throughout today's interview, Kym. So appreciate you coming on the show today. For Kym Gold, I'm Kevin Edwards, asking you to go out there, lead by example, show dignity and respect, and always, folks, keep it real. Thank you, Kym.